This week, we've got word of some exciting reprints and releases of games from Fantasy Flight and Stronghold Games.
And our topic of the week, worst games ever. What qualities do these games have in order to rank among the worst? I'm Will Keeler.
I'm Jonathan Estes, and this is the Roll for Crit podcast.
So, we're starting off with not a new game, but a reprint of an old classic. Tigres and Euphrates is a game where you take the role of a civilization around the Fertile Crescent. This is an area where, as you can guess, Tigris and Euphrates, two rivers, exist, where is known as one of the cradles of civilization. Pretty much one of the first real areas that fostered knowledge and writing, and is just a really cool area that really isn't talked about that much. You were used to Greek games, we're used to Egyptian, but this is an area that we don't see that much. And this was a really popular game that's been out in print for a while.
Yeah, well, I know we've been trying to find it for a long time.
Yeah, so I'm excited. I mean, it looks amazing too. They redid the artwork and everything.
Yeah, the box looks has a much more modern kind of look to it. It definitely looks more appealing. Is it Tigris or Tigris? Because I don't know.
Knowing me, whatever I said, it's not that.
Okay, so it's like Euphrates. I think is the actual pronunciation. No, it's not.
I'm not going to even dare to try any further.
But yeah, and it's from another name I don't know how to pronounce, Rainer Knizia, who's really well-known game developer. So this is a big one, and I know it's really exciting for people that this is actually going to be coming back into print. And they said Q2 2015, yes. I'm pretty sure, which means
spoilers, a lot of things we're talking about will probably be released then.
And also, probably a lot of things we're talking about will be delayed and not released then.
So see you next Christmas!
But yes, that's the first one. And in fact, Fantasy Flight had another reprint that they talked about. You started off with not a new game. I don't think any of the ones we're going to talk about today are
Good point.
Technically new games.
Well, this is the one I really knew, is because this is the one we, like you said, we've been hunting for so long. So keep your eye out as well, because this is definitely one you should add to your collection.
So the other one that Fantasy Flight just brought up is called Drakon. Another one, it could be Drakon. I'm going to go with Drakon. And this is, again, a reprint of a game that takes place in sort of a dungeon, very typical kind of fantasy setting. And you're all players who have just broken into this dragon horde, and you have to navigate this labyrinth, and whoever gets 10 gold first can escape and win. Now, what's cool about the game is that on your turn, you can decide either to move normally, or it's all tile-based. You can put a tile in front of another player or yourself. And the idea is you want to put good tiles in front of you, or tiles that maybe have traps on them in front of other players. And the dragon is also down here, so you might get a chance to move the dragon around to try and take other people out. And only one person at the end of the game can get 10 gold and escape. As soon as one person gets out, everyone else is now dragon food. So it sounds like a really cool game. For some reason, it seems like this is the third game I've heard from Fantasy Flight recently where you're raiding a dungeon and a dragon is chasing you out. It's just I feel like every other game is about that. But
it's a really popular theme. We all just want to be able to find that gold treasure pile that also a nice dragon with a British accent comes and yells at us.
All dragons should have British accents.
Of course,
I feel very strongly about that.
What about Scottish? Are you okay with that?
It depends. It's a gray area for me.
It's a gray area? But
either way, this game, it looks pretty cool. The art looks cool, and, you like dragons.
No, yeah. Well, I like dragons, but it does sound a lot of fun, just the idea of being okay, Jonathan, you're doing well there. Enjoy this pit trap.
Right, exactly. Yeah, and it doesn't seem really complicated either. A cool, fun dragon game. There should be more games about dragons.
Yeah. Speaking of dragons.
Oh, yeah?
The next one I'm talking about is actually The Hobbit, Enchanted Gold. This is actually designed to be a two-player game in which you go through the Hobbit storyline, which, if you haven't now, maybe you should see the movies, which should be all out by now.
Or the books. It was a book.
Yes, I just assume more people are more likely to watch the movies than read the book.
Probably true.
So yeah, you go through the journey and you have to reach Smog and deal with this gold. So it looks definitely different than the other Hobbit games we see. I think because Cryptozoic makes most of them.
Right. The one thing I thought was interesting or weird about it was that it's competitive.
Yeah.
Even though you're both on the same journey, it's whoever beats the most bad guys on the way
Well, you know, it's cooperative, and I'm winning.
Right. It's one of those. But yeah, I'm sure. You know, there are a bunch of Hobbit games, so
we'll see how it stacks up. Next
we'll see if it's different enough, or if it's just like another Hobbit game. Okay.
But unlike the other games we talked about before, this one actually has a release date.
Oh yes.
So you can know whether they actually delayed it or not. They're not just like, it's still quartered to. January 29th, so very soon.
Pretty soon, so we'll know soon enough how it turns out. And we have one more brand new game
this
announcement.
one, I know, when we found out, we were very excited.
I'm very excited about this. This one is from Stronghold Games, and it's called Pictomania from a developer who, another name I won't pronounce correctly. It really goes without saying at this point. We always say this, but Vlada Fatil, I believe it is, who is well-known developer of Space Alert and Mage Knight and several other big ones that we're big fans of as well. However, this one's a little bit of a departure from those types of games. It's a party game called Pictomania, and it's really sort of like Pictionary. The difference is a set of words comes out at the beginning of the round, so everyone knows what the words are. And then each one person secretly finds out which word they get to draw. Then simultaneously, everyone is drawing their word, and while you're drawing, you're also looking at what everyone else is drawing and trying to guess which word they're doing. So it's, in a way, sort of like Wits and Wagers. You don't have to be that good at drawing if you're really good at being able to guess what other people are doing. And at the end of the round, you know, you gain points or lose points if you were really bad at guessing, or if nobody guessed what yours was because it was just indecipherable.
So you don't want to be too shitty.
Right. As always, in life and in board games. That's a good
Yeah,
way.
I remember when we first found this, we're like, wait, he's doing a party game?
I know. I'm pretty sure he's done another one
But all the
before.
ones we're used to,
Yeah,
of course.
It seems like a departure.
No, that sounds great, though, because can you just imagine be like, oh, shit. Are you doing a bunny? Or is that a duck?
From what I've heard, some of the, like, you might think it's easy, but
No, I don't think it's easy.
Well, the way the words come up is it'll be like, someone's drawing a thief and someone's drawing like a smuggler or something. So the differences can be small. So you really have to think about.
And can you all choose, theoretically, could everyone choose the same word?
No, I think everyone definitely has a different word.
Oh, definitely, okay.
But you could, like, everyone could guess that one word is this guy's and
right.
they're all wrong.
But I mean, it's not like we all go, you have thief, and everyone goes, yes.
Right.
Like,
right, no. But so, that's, of all the games we talked about today, that's probably the one I'm most excited for, although they all sound pretty cool.
No, they all sound great. I mean, that one I feel because that one actually is new, so that's what exciting.
Right.
Like I said, I think for
America.
me, I think close is Tigres and Euphrates because it's one.
It's just we want to.
It's one of those ones we have been hunting for a while.
Yeah, definitely.
But of course, we'll wait until they all come out. And if they don't get delayed.
Right, which they will. But we could talk about even more games that are upcoming.
How so?
Well, maybe some that don't go through official channels, that come from a little website that we like to talk about in our segment, Kickstarter Pickstarter.
All right, so my Kickstarter Pickstarter is a real groovy one. Game is called Swinging Jive Cat Voodoo Lounge.
Yeah, I like it. That's real groovy.
Yep, from Game Designers Clubhouse. Yes, that's the name of the company. The game itself is actually you are a voodoo spirit, and your goal is pretty much to get all become friends with all the popular guys in the clubs, lounges.
Okay.
This is all set in 50s artwork. It's really cool. Artwork's amazing. You should definitely take a look, no matter what. And the way you do that, though, is you have to become friends with the lower class people, and then maybe the cooler ones, and then you have to get them up in order to get into the cool circle.
Okay, so it's high school.
Right, yeah, it is. But there's also, there's a fashion trend, so you might want to become friends with certain people because they'll give more points. There's also, spells, so you can throw voodoo hexes at each other. Oh. And when you get different friends, you score points, and those points are measured by little monkeys, which you hang off little martini glasses you get. Which is, yes, actual little plastic martini glass, not just a little cardboard thing. Or at least in the demos that we've seen so far, yeah. And your chips that you use to mark who you're friends with, you put in the glass. It actually looks like there's a little liquid, little drink in the glass too.
So you can't fill it with real liquid while you're
Well, you probably could too.
That's
just how they're using it.
That's true.
No, because the player's guide are coasters too. So you have you can make this an actual drink.
I like it.
No, and like the components, everything looks so amazing. I mean, this looks great. And the game itself is for $50. But for $20 more, you get another game. Like they have, I think it's called Pocket Martini or something. It's another little small thing. It's really cool. I mean, this guy obviously put a lot of work into it and makes it look like it looks like a great game. It looks a lot of fun. The components look.
It sounds like it's one of those games where people walk by and see the martini glasses and they just want to play it.
No. Well, even the artwork alone, that's what, because before I even knew that, I just saw the artwork and I was like, wow, that looks really nice. And it's just a great, sort of 50s is, I never thought of that, but it actually works.
It sounds, I mean, it's definitely an original theme.
Yeah.
Like, that's a cool combination.
I mean, look at the name alone. Swinging Jive Cat Voodoo Lounge. I actually mixed it up.
It is one of the best. That might be in the running. We should have, we'll have our Roll for Crit Awards this year.
The best name game.
Yeah, that's definitely in the running.
But definitely check it out. Just to look at it. Oh, I should mention, they also have a free print and play already. So you can already play it and check it out before you even buy it. I mean, I feel like they hit every mark.
It doesn't get much better than that.
Great components, great artwork, unique design, unique name.
You have no excuse to at least try it out.
Yeah.
Which hopefully we'll get a chance to do
Speaking of
ourselves.
being able to try out some good games.
Yes, being able to try out another game. The one I'm going to talk about is Tiny Epic Galaxies. This comes from Gamelin Games, and it is, I believe, the third in their series. A lot of people probably know of Tiny Epic Kingdoms. All the small games. This is a dice game, sort of in the vein of King of Tokyo meets Cosmic Encounter meets Space Alert. Now I need to calm down. But it's a sci-fi theme, and your goal is to colonize planets with your ships. And on your turn, you roll dice, and each side, lets you do a different action. So you'll be able to move a ship to a planet, or you'll gain energy, which you can spend on things. But like King of Tokyo, you get one reroll per turn, or you can but spend your energy to get, or other abilities to reroll dice. And another thing that's unique in this game is the order that you carry out your actions is very important. So you really have to think about how you want to arrange your dice once you've rolled them, as opposed to just saying, I'll do this, then that, then that. And you can even sometimes do things on other people's turns by using dice they rolled. But it's a fast, fun kind of dice game, but they've done a lot so that the luck is mitigated. There's a lot of things you can do to turn the dice into your favor and get it to do what you want, as opposed to just a purely luck-based game. And the theme is cool. You're colonizing planets, and it's only $16,
which is very
reasonable.
Which is also surprising because if you check them out, they just started a day or two before the filming of this.
Yeah.
They are way over their.
Yes, their goal is surpassed by far. They've hit a lot of their stretch goals already as well. And like you alluded to before, this one has a print and play too. So you might as well try it out. And it's probably, I don't think there's many components. You probably just have to provide your own dice.
Right.
But there's just 6-sided dice, which you probably have lying around. And try it out.
Yeah. So overall, 2 amazing games that a lot of work went into, both of them at great prices for what they come with, both of them with a free print and play so you can try them out. So
we were both saying we think the Kickstarter surge has started again for the year.
Yes.
There was a lull, and now we're seeing a lot of cool stuff come out.
Yeah, so definitely take a look at these two, obviously. But for now, I think it's time for our topic of the week.
So earlier this week, the website 538 put out an article about the worst board games of all time. This was a follow-up to their article about the best game of all time, which according to BoardGameGeek is Twilight Struggle, which you can read on your own. But we're going to talk about this one because it's more negative and that's more fun for us.
Well, also it's more of... I think this
is
more to debate, and it's also a variety.
On.
It's not just really focusing on one game.
Right. So this
one probably will, but
this time around, using BoardGameGeek's rankings, which is really a whole thing we'll probably get into now too. They tried to figure out, based on their amount of people who played them. They didn't just go. They went for a minimum number of playthroughs, so it wasn't like if one dude said this was the worst game ever, and figured out what the bottom of the barrel was in terms of board games, according to people on the internet. And what they came up with, basically probably not surprising at all to most people watching this, that a lot of them were luck-based, primarily, and they were things like...
Well, I think you should say heavily luck.
Heavily luck-based. Things like Candyland, Monopoly, Life, and my favorite, Tic-Tac-Toe.
Well, that one actually isn't luck-based.
Right, that's an outlier. We can talk about that. And Chutes and Ladders was another one, I think. So, I mean, I think there's two really interesting things here about... Well, I guess the first one would be the validity of, calling things the worst games in BoardGameGeek rankings. And
all right, so
how do they get to this point?
Let's first analyze. Let's look at these games that we mentioned. Are they ones that are high or low on your list?
What do you...
do you actually...
Personally?
Yes.
I mean, Well, here's the thing. Like we said, these are the games that people have played a lot. So, of course, I'm sure there's some really obscure game that's just terrible.
Yes.
But nobody's played it. Whereas the thing is with things like Monopoly and Sorry and whatever, everybody's played those before. So that's why we can call them the worst games, even though it's like everyone calls Geely the worst movie, but there's some independent movie that no one's seen before, which I think they actually mentioned Geely in this article. But for me personally, I mean, yeah, pretty much these are games that I would never really want to play with anybody. They probably would be on the bottom of my own personal list. Certainly, Candy. I mean, the other thing is that a lot of them are for children. So,
well, actually,
it's
that's
a little...
one thing I want to bring up. First of all, with the rating, they said in their article, the problem is this rating is done mostly by a lot of adult males most of the time for these games.
Right, or at least, and also people who are serious about board gaming as a hobby.
I mean, they are rating them.
Right.
But I think a big thing to also take apart from a lot of these games, especially, I think, we can argue which ones, but a lot of them are actually more teaching aids. Like Tic-Tac-Toe is a great way to sort of, for really young kids to sort of dive into strategy. That's when they learn, like, maybe, I can actually set up maybe a trap to trick someone into it. Or, like, obviously, if they said...
The nefarious trap. I'll put an O here.
But,
we'll see them put an X there.
But, yeah, that's sort of what you do. You set it up so that no matter where they put it, you still win.
Right.
But, like, other games, like Chutes and Ladders, for example, there's a recent video, we'll put a link down below from Extra Credit talking about how Chutes and Ladders is actually a game based on morality. And like the number of ladders and snakes or chutes, depending on which version you play, is actually depending on the culture it comes from and the number of sins.
It's like the ladder send you to heaven and the chutes
yeah,
send you
like
down.
Actually it's really cool. You should click the link and watch it. It's really interesting. And Candyland, of course, is just really simple drawing, but it's a good way to help teach like winning and losing.
Candyland is actually about apartheid. You see, the candy people. Anyway.
But Monopoly, it doesn't fit that.
No
I
defense
think
there.
What's interesting, I can't say. I think what it does though is pretty much because you have no way to control the game, you have to learn to lose graciously at it.
Well, I find what's interesting about Monopoly is that unlike the other games, it really isn't a kid's game, but it seems like it's always families and kids that play it. Well, just because they're the one, that's what they know.
This is the interesting thing. All these games that we said are the first games, and even though they're the worst, they're the ones that are almost in every store.
Right.
They're the ones that are selling a lot more than all these, as much as we wish it wasn't true.
Well, I almost think it would be interesting if BoardGameGeek had a separate list of actually designer games, and then here all the family, the classics or what have you.
Well, I'm sure they have a weird.
They probably do,
but yeah, I think it's not BoardGameGeek's fault. It's just what it turns out. The people who are visiting.
Well, no, I mean it's certainly not their fault.
I think another big thing about Monopoly is because we all know it, and because it's so big, they have themes. There's Pokemon Monopoly, Lord of the Rings Monopoly, Zelda Monopoly, like Big Bang Monopoly, like everything that you would want. There might not be a game for. You don't know there's a game for. It has it, so you can still be like, well, I have the Viridian Gym, or which makes you excited.
True. It's still terrible, but
yeah. But I mean, it's still something you learn, and I know a few of the big problems people have with it, and which is actually nice because you should play it because you can see how some of these problems are big in other board games and how to maybe avoid them. In the article, they mentioned one, an early lead. Someone can quickly, if someone gets Monopoly really early, he or she's gonna just run really far ahead in money. Two, there's the randomness, obviously, with rolling the dice a lot more. Anything where moving is rolling the dice, so people can get a little...
Yeah, nobody likes that.
This one is interesting because I feel like I don't think it's too bad, or in some ways, I think people just get angry. It's king making. I know a lot of people really get angry about that because they think a loser pretty much just can decide who wins. But in some sense, that means you have to try. It's annoying, but at the same time, that means you have to sort of play a political.
Well, I think it's worse when you're the kingmaker because you just feel like I have no chance, so
right.
I just have to let one of them win. You don't feel involved in the game anymore. That's the problem with it. But yeah, I mean I certainly think Monopoly is on a level above things like Candyland and Life.
Oh no,
more or less. But I guess let's step back and just say, maybe to wrap up, do you think, what can we learn from overall like the ranking system of BoardGameGeek? Do you think it's actually valuable as designers or consumers to look at it, or do you think it's kind of just a popularity contest?
Well, one thing I think I've noticed with a lot of games, and actually not just games, any list. I mean, like for example, we do on a website called Flickchart, we rate movies.
Right, Flickchart. Yeah.
Flickchart. And the thing is, with my top, I don't have my top 10 aren't maybe the best movies in the world, but they're my favorite movies. Mm-hmm. So yeah, there is some popularity in it. And there are certain games I probably aren't in the top 10 or something of BoardGameGeek, but I think that would be in our top 10.
Oh, sure. Definitely.
And that's what I think the problem with these games are. These games, I think, aren't made to be top 10, but they're sort of the games you should hit. They're milestone games. They're almost before the gateway games. They're introduce you just to playing.
Well, you definitely should play them as a child, but I would still argue there is something to be said for, like, a Pixar movie going into movies is a movie that's great for kids, but adults can still enjoy it.
Oh, no.
And I would say, I think there probably are better games for kids that adults can enjoy, too.
I will not argue that. I mean, that's really the point of the Spiel des Jahres Awards, isn't it?
Partially.
Anyone can play.
Right. And so while I see what you're saying,
at the same time, you're going to be able to come across, at least in North America, I'm speaking.
Yeah.
You're going to come across these games a lot easier, especially tic-tac-toe. I mean, you don't need anything.
But I'd rather give my kid, Dixit or something.
Right, but unfortunately, you know that. I mean, you're in sort of an industry to know this stuff.
Right, yeah, of course.
I mean, how many times have we, through family events, been like...
I think it's gotten better, though.
Everything always improves.
Yeah. Of course, they're never going to go away.
Well, hopefully, also, these games may improve. I mean... Monopoly in particular, I think, has the...
They did come out with the fast version of it.
Right, but I mean, like, those are... Monopoly in particular, I feel, has the chance with it. It's like, you can make a tweaker version of it. I mean, I know what Life does. There's, like, so many versions, like, different jobs and things that...
Yeah, that's like,
changed. I think they have their opportunity to sort of learn. I mean, some of them I don't think, because... And they'll also be classic versions. Some of them are hard, because tic-tac-toe, that's tic-tac-toe. But I still think they're all things... It's like, even experience, because like I said... You can learning why these games have faults might make you better at learning how to fix a game. So maybe if you want to make your own game, maybe it's just so you can understand other games better. You can see how these faults, and you can actually point out why they're bad instead of just saying they're bad.
There is definitely truth and wisdom in that statement.
I just don't know where it is.
You can figure out where it is, or maybe you have something to tell us about your reaction to the worst games of all time. You can read the article. We'll link it below. And if you agree with it, if you think that these are the worst games according to the rankings, or maybe the system is flawed, anything else you want to react to that we said today, or if you'd like to suggest a topic or ask us a question for a future show, we would really love that. You can send us an email, or you can comment on this video, but our email address is rollforcrit@gmail.com.
And of course, you can get us at Twitter, which should be around here hopefully by now.
You can check the page.
And, of course, there's our site, where you can buy, whether you think they're the best or worst games. We have them both.
Definitely. That's rollforcrit.com, of course. We'll sell lots of games, plus we have news articles. You can see all these announcements right when we talk about them, plus more podcasts. We just put out a playback episode last week for Operation Faust, if you missed it, and Zombie Dice is going to be coming up in the near future, so look out for those. And I think that will be it for today's wonderful episode.
Yep. I'm Will Keeler.
I'm Jonathan Estes. This has been the Roll for Crit podcast. Woo!